As a young child, you and your family, your mother, you guys moved house to house and neighborhood to neighborhood for the safety of the Jewish people. How did that affect you as a kid? I mean, did you got to the point you were immune to it, you were used to it, or did that ever play a significant effect on you?
I was very, very fortunate that uh, in about 1941, 42, uh, my parents lived in a very nice condominium environment where they were renting it, and a very good friend of my father suggested then he should be moving into a more Jewish neighborhood.
Right.
And at that time, the opportunity came, and the family did move to a very Jewish area, and that was very much stunned the possibility of survival by looking back. And the reason I say that because in March, when the German army, the SS, marched into Budapest and actually occupied the country, shortly after, practically all the Jews outside of the city of Budapest were deported to various camps, to either to Poland or to Germany. Some people were deported to Auschwitz, Birkenau, or Sobibor, or Treblinka, or some people were deported to Mauthausen, Dachau, Bergen-Belsen, and the majority of them really didn't survive.
Do you agree? Do you think that the schools should, start teaching a little bit more about what's going on, and how substantial is that for the generation that's going up?
I feel that over the past several years, the school system realizes that within the social study or history curriculum, they need to address what really happened during Second World War. Not only that there was a war, but there were very significant activities took place what the Nazis did, and there are more and more learning going on in the middle schools and high schools.
Right.
But it's never enough to learn, because there are volumes and volumes have been written about the atrocities and the horrendous activities of the Nazis. And for me to go to talk to schools, it shows that they know someone who survived those difficult times, even though I was a child survivor and I wasn't in a camp. But my survivor is just an indication that Holocaust did existed, and they able to directly communicate or have the direct contact with someone who survived those difficult years,
right.
Not only reading in the books or potentially seeing in pictures. And when you have a direct contact, it gives you a very different perspective of what really happened.
Right. You're a little boy when you were a child. Your kindergarten nurse teacher saved your life. Tell us a little bit about that.
The building where I lived, it was the main floor had a nursery school and a kindergarten prior to the war,
right.
Which eventually I mentioned earlier became an orphanage. But one of the teachers, her name is Rose, not Jewish, and stayed in the building during the ghetto era, and I fallen and cracked my head very badly and was bleeding, and there was no real medical assistance existed. So she changed my clothes, and I was bandaged up by her, and she took me out of the ghetto. And when the guard says, well, where you are going? He says, well, I'm taking my son to the hospital.
Oh, so she said that to the guard?
She said that to the guard. I was her son.
Right, right.
And I have to take him to the hospital. Wow. To have stitched up and make sure that he is all right. And she had papers to showing that she wasn't Jewish, and so the guard let us go, and we went to the hospital, which was maybe about 6-7 blocks away from the ghetto, and I was fixed up, and she came in with me back, and We had absolutely no problem of getting in and out. She identified herself properly, and because of her, I feel then she saved my life. Otherwise, life.
You know, I could just only imagine the difficult times that went through when you were growing up. And when I was in high school, we read a little bit, but not as much, like you said, as schools need, you know, for the students to, you know, learn a little bit more and learn the truth about it. But during those difficult times, did you ever have like any enjoyable moments? You ever had like a, you know, I remember this when I was a kid, or playing with your friends? Or
Well, you know, through 1945, there was absolutely no childhood. I just only remember of constant fear and discomfort, and many times the ridicule which existed against the Jews.
Right, right.
When eventually, after the war, yes, there were some moments which were, I think, was nice. After 1945, when my father came home, a few years before communism really took over Hungary, which was in the early 1950s, there was quite a bit of freedom, and tradesmen were able to rebuild their buildings, as well as the businesses were flourishing. And so my real joy was playing soccer, and I had the opportunity to play. And also I enjoyed playing chess, and I had the opportunity to learn and play the game, and being a child. But when the communism took over, again, a lot of restrictions took place,
Right.
and particularly religious freedom just disappeared.
Right. I know few people, or a lot of people, should I say, not few, a lot of people in this world are going through difficult times, you know, with the economy, losing jobs, families, personal issues. Nowhere near the Great Depression and where it was in the 1940s, the 1930s. But when you hear people like speak about their issues or problems or what they're going through at the current time, do you ever like say to yourself, look, you know, you don't know what struggling is. You don't know what a difficult time is. You ever think that, or you ever say that to that person, or you're like, you know?
Well, it's not that I say it. I said, if you look back history, people went through very difficult times, and some of them were literally life-threatening, particularly during the Nazi era from 1933 to 1945. The various Nazi activities, like Kristallnacht in Germany,
Right.
And the persecution of Jews, it was very hard to able to ends meet. So my take on this, you just have to try very hard, and you have to take every day very precious, is a new day, is a new excitement, and you have to work very hard to able to maintain your existence. Sometimes it's very hard, and sometimes it's very sad. But if you have self-confidence, then you will able to make the next day, then you will be succeeding.
Right.